Hello and welcome to the Catch a Lift Coaches Corner. I'm KL lead coach Melissa, and this week I'm excited to welcome to the show the president and founder of the Catch a Lift Fund, Lynn Coffland. Today, Lynn and I will be talking about goal setting, discipline, the new year, and finally we will finish up by hearing from Lynn what KL has in store for 2021. Welcome to this week's episode of the Coaches Corner. Lynn, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited for today.
Oh, I am too. It's so good to see you. We're going to do stuff a little bit different today. We're going to start out by having you ask me some questions, goal setting, discipline, the new year. So why don't we jump right into it and see where we get? What questions do you have for me, Lynn? Where should we start?
So I am interviewing our head coach, Melissa Leuck, today, which I'm very, very excited. And interviewing on goals, which for me, I aspire to set goals like Melissa. She's one of the most diligent, hardworking athletes that I have encountered in years. And it's usually always starts out with goals. So we thought, how exciting, to hear what you do for your goals and how you figure those out. So let's talk right to it about how do you approach for goal setting.
All right. So before I do anything goal-wise or, anything that I want to see happen in a given period of time, I think of my big picture, and that big picture is a very personal thing for me or the person you're talking about. It's my long-term vision of myself and my life, whether that be 10 years from now or just kind of as a complete body of work. Once I have that picture in my head, I'm able to start working backwards. And what I start doing is, I take that one big goal that's, it's very big. It's a very big vision. And I start breaking it down kind of into targeted chunks. And these become almost like sub goals. It's a lot more achievable at that point because, if you look at this grand vision you have for yourself, it's like you're staring straight up at a mountain, right? So right away, I get that big picture image. And I start working backwards, chunking it down. What target goals do I need to hit along the way to make this big picture come into fruition? Like I said, that big picture goal, it's a very personal thing for a person. For myself, it's something, I've only shared, with my husband and one or two very close friends. It's not for the world. It's not for other people. It's for me. And I think right off the bat, sometimes that's where people go wrong. And I've definitely been guilty of this in the past too. Don't get me wrong, but you set goals for the wrong reason. Maybe it's, you're trying to impress other people or kind of a group. And not even that maybe that you're doing that on purpose, but I think that happens a lot. So again, the first thing that I would recommend for anyone, really paint that picture in your mind of what you want out of your life, what you want for yourself, and that's going to look very different for everybody. From there, once I've got that big picture, what I want, and I've broken down into those targeted, smaller goals under it, I'm going to write them down. And something that I started, well, it was about a year ago for myself. I changed how I wrote down my goals. So when I used to write them, it'd be, just make something up here. I want to gain 15 pounds over the next 12 months, of lean muscle mass or something, or, I want to lift X amount of weight. I don't do it that way anymore. About a year ago, I changed it and I write it in the present tense now. And I'm also able to interject gratitude into that. So it would change, say I had this goal of putting on, 15 pounds of lean mass. I would change it now to, I am so happy and grateful now that I've achieved, my target composition I was looking for. But changing it for something that's out there that you haven't yet attained to something I have attained. I am so happy and grateful now that I'm in this position at my work. I'm so happy and grateful now that my family and I eat together at the table 6 nights a week. I'm so happy and grateful now that social media isn't playing, a primary role in my life. This does a couple things. Number one, it makes you grateful. It makes you grateful for the journey. And, we've talked it before. Gratitude is such a big part of our journey. But it kind of tricks your brain into you're already in that spot, right? So it makes it more real in your world. And the more real it becomes, you're able to envision it better. You're able to really hone in on it. So like I said, definitely write those goals down. But if you
let's back up here a second, because this is
Yep.
very, very interesting. So first, like for our viewers, when you say you want to set your goals, what you want to achieve and how you envision yourself, are you doing that as the whole person and life, or are you doing that as a singular goal that you want to achieve?
So for myself personally, it's very important that I'm always going in a forward positive direction. And so you could approach this different ways, like, right, maybe you're just not in a place to paint out that big picture that I kind of talked about. And like, let's be honest here, and full disclosure, for well over a decade, I was not in that point. Like, I couldn't see it. I didn't have a vision. I didn't even know what I wanted out of my life. Right now, where I'm at, I'm more confident in that realm. So yes, when I do write a goal now, it's sub goals for this big goal. So I do paint that picture, and it's what I want to see out of my life. Like, if this was the end of my life, I'm able to look back at this body of work and what does my life look like, and that's, athletically, professionally, with my family, it's everything. And for me, from there, I just work backwards off of that, because again, if it's a big goal, which, ultimately I hope people are, you want to shoot big. We'll talk about being realistic, in a bit, but you want to shoot big. It's got to be something you're passionate about. And I think you find that passion from that big picture of your life, of that person you want to become, of where you want to get. For some people, it's their career. For other people, it might be their family it's really tied up in. So it will look different for everyone. But currently now, that's how I kind of do it.
So like in reference to you would suggest, let's say, a big picture of the life that you would like to achieve in all facets, this big picture. And then when we get into it, you might break it down to a sub goal is fitness or strongman, like when you competed.
Right.
And then another sub goal may be bulk or loss or whatever, cut.
Right.
Okay, so first you want to look at, well, this is interesting because I've never done this. I've never looked at like the big picture. I'm always like really siloed on a singular thing, and it is hard. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and you still get that way. So, like, for instance, if you were to come and train in my gym, I have my goals written down in there, because for me, the gym is the place where I'm most present, I'm most confident about myself, mentally, physically, everything. I have them written down in there on a whiteboard. But what you'll see for goals written down there, it's actually what I would call kind of 3 high tier sub goals. So I know that if I want to hit that big picture right now, these are the 3 primary areas that I need to really be honing in on. And they're specific goals themselves, but you can set goals in any area of your life. And I would certainly encourage people to do that. But like I said, I think that where people sometimes kind of falter there, you're creating that goal for the wrong reason,
Yeah. And how do you know how to set these goals in a realistic time frame? Like, how do you know what's achievable for yourself?
Yep. So the first thing with that goal, you have to really want it. Like, and it doesn't matter if we're talking that very big picture goal or small goals, just daily living goals. You have to be passionate about it and you have to want it, because let's be real here. Life is constantly dumping and throwing curveballs at us, right? So if you're not passionate about it, if it doesn't burn fire in your belly, you're going to move on to something different. You're going to quit it. And that's not a knock on you. It's just, it maybe wasn't the right place you should have been, or need to be directing your energy. So I would, that's a big part of it. And as far as like a time frame goes, it is important to have a time deadline on it. There's an acronym, SMART, that I'm sure a lot of people listening have probably heard about when setting goals. And so SMART is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals. And I mean, you can pretty much read anywhere. It's across the board. You've got to have some type of time deadline to kind of make goals effective. This is another place, so I think people can kind of trip up. That time frame is going to look wildly different for everybody. You have to be really honest with yourself about what you're able to commit to, like what's sustainable for your life. If we were to use like fitness and workouts as an example, if I'm coming off of the couch, I haven't worked out really anything in 2020. I'm looking at 2021. I want to get fit. I want to be in the gym. Your goal starting out, it's probably not good to set it at, I'm going to work out 4 or 5 days a week for 60 minutes when you've never done that. Like, let's start with 10 minutes a day, 3 days a week, because that should be pretty attainable for anybody, right? And now we're going to look at that. We've done that for, 6, 8 weeks, whatever it kind of takes. You've built a little momentum. Okay, well, you need to up that. We can still hit that goal, 4 to 5 days, 60 minutes. But we need to be realistic. If we just jump right into that, on January 1st or, whatever the date might be, we're liable to kind of fall on our face, because that's just not, It's not realistic. We're not used to that. Like, for most people, you can't just flip a switch and it's done,
Right.
Same thing kind of nutrition wise. A lot of people, there'll be goals nutrition wise, maybe weight to lose or weight to gain. So if I had a goal to lose 40 pounds, realistically, I can't lose that in 2 months. We know it takes, healthily, or, if you do it in a healthful way, you can lose like 1 to 2 pounds a week. So if I have 40 pounds to lose, realistically, more of like a 4-month time frame, to set yourself up for success. Don't set yourself up for failure.
Right.
And I would also say, in that realm, though, you might not know that, and you might not know what it's going to take. Ask somebody that has done what you're trying to do. What's realistic here? How long did this take you? And not that you should compare yourself to them, but give yourself a ballpark. What do other people do this in? And again, we're all different. We all have different, family commitments, jobs, lives. But, reach out to other people that are doing the thing that you aspire to be or aspire to do. I think that's very helpful.
Well, I think they're all such good points, because in your reference, like to nutrition, instead of thinking I'm going to lose 40 pounds, like in, 2 months or whatever it is, and it's not realistic because it took you probably quite a bit time to gain that weight,
Yes.
then you have to set that goal, like you said, that's realistic. But then also, in the beginning, what you said is acknowledge what you've done. So you might start by cutting out soda if you drink soda, and then you see you started to lose weight, and you are grateful and acknowledge the goal, the accomplishment to yourself. This is really great. I did this. And I guess then that ties into the recording it. So you've seen, because you might not think you've done something, but when you look back at where you started, you really see that. So with that being said, then what do you do with setbacks, or if you feel like I can't push through this? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts on that, because I'm my life isn't special. I'm like everyone else. And it feels like 2020. Wow, I had a lot of crazy stuff thrown at me, as everyone did, right? I would encourage everyone to first and foremost show yourself grace. You know, we all get knocked down, we all get turned around. One of the things I catch myself saying a lot to other people, they'll ask me how I'm doing, and I'll tell them I'm holding the line. And that has a very close meaning for me, because I still go through some very dark times and just stuff where it's not great. But in my mind, as long as I can just hold that line, I'm not going to fall backwards. I might not be making good forward progress right now, but I'm not going to lose ground either. I'm going to sit here, I'm going to hold this line, and I'm going to wait it out, because I know no matter how bad it gets, it will pass. But I just have to be able to outlast the suck, whatever that might be. And again, looks different for everybody. But that's an important thing to remember. But so when setbacks happen, this is a little bit where I want to talk about discipline.
But Melissa, I'm going to interrupt you one second, because I do want, especially our veteran viewers, really everyone, but our veteran viewers, to really take note of that, because I think it's really meaningful words. Like, it's okay to be right where you are.
Yeah, that is okay. Yes.
It's a good place to be holding the line.
Yes, it is.
And that's very encouraging. You do not have to be a superstar, right?
That's not realistic. That's
not
setting yourself up for failure.
Holding the line is a really good place to be, because you're in there, you're in it.
Yeah. And if you're holding the line, just like you're saying, you're also you're present, you're being mindful of the struggle that's around you.
Yes, that's very, very good advice.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you about pushing through.
But, so right off the bat, like I said, number one, if you're in a bad time, you need to show yourself grace, right? Hold that line as best as you are able. But sometimes setbacks, you can tell, whatever may happen. Maybe you lost your job, or, there's a death in the family that you're grieving, or just, kind of bigger things that, like, this pain or this hurt, it's going to be around a while. So what do we do now? This is where discipline is going to come into play big time for a person. And I've seen it work time and time again in my own life. So, we create these goals. So once the goal is created, and whether we're talking about that big picture goal or those sub goals, we need to be able, or at least for myself, I'm speaking for myself, I need to be able to create a habit out of it in order to reach that goal. Because if I can create a habit, I can become very disciplined within that habit. And so, like, I might be getting snowballs thrown at me from all different directions by life right now, but I'm going to hold the line with that habit for myself. A lot of my goals are wrapped up around fitness, strength, the gym. So I'm going to continue on with that. It's going to be bad. It might be messy for a bit, but I'm going to rely on, that dedication, that discipline that I've laid down in my life to make it through it. Because like I said, it will eventually pass. So I don't want to just, throw the baby out with my bathwater, let my goals slip away because I'm in a very bad space right now, mentally, physically, with my family, whatever it may be. I'm going to hold that line, and I'm going to rely on the discipline and habits that I've built into my life. And I think that's very crucial. If you're not able to create discipline, habit, routine with those goals, I think you're almost dead before you're even out of the water, right? Like, you can't get any traction.
So let's, like, jump right in there, because discipline is hard when you're down, right? Or it's hard when the snowballs are coming at you. So, like, can you talk a little bit, like, let's go to fitness, and let's talk specific of a discipline. Like, let's pick a goal we would want to hit, and let's walk through those steps that you're saying, like and then especially the discipline part, because I'm going back to myself. I personally, the discipline part, like, but here's like, as you're talking, I'm thinking these things to share with our viewers, because it's like, I know that I've achieved goals in other parts of my life, but perhaps where I'm feeling have failed and that I can't do it because I haven't created the discipline is only because I haven't used the same techniques that I used to set
Right.
in other places. So like our viewers, let's say there's an amazing mom or an amazing dad, but one or the other hasn't achieved a fitness or nutrition goal they want. If they achieved the greatness or their goal that they wanted in another area, they had to somehow create those same steps,
Absolutely.
right? So you want to remember that and then try to flip it to where you think you're not hitting your goals.
Right. And we can speak of that kind of specifically as, gym and fitness as an analogy for it. um, so one of the great things that discipline and habit does, and like, let's talk about the gym. So if you need to be in that gym, I'm just going to say 5 days a week. If you need to be in that gym 5 days a week, you build momentum, right? Your disciplines and your habit, it builds momentum. It's like, well, you're investing in yourself. You're putting money in a piggy bank every time you clock into that gym. You're investing in yourself. You're putting another coin in that slot, to save. And you're doing that for the bad days that are going to come. So when that bad period comes, when you're getting pelted by snowballs from every direction in life, look back at this momentum you've built, look back at this habit, this discipline, and you have to rely on that, because there's not going to be motivation when you're in a bad spot. Like, let's be honest here. Everybody talks a lot about motivation. It's great when it's there. It's fleeting. It's so fleeting. I am very, very, very rarely motivated, and I love the gym. You know that, Lynn. So I'll say it to you. I love the gym. I love training. I love strongman. I'm not motivated. There's a lot of days I'm not motivated to go do it. I don't feel like doing it today. I slept horrible last night. My stomach has been upset all morning. Like, I can't keep food down. But I'm going to rely on that discipline that I've created to carry me through, because my goal is that important to me. And the other thing I would say about that, because again, when you're feeling really shitty, I think sometimes you can trick yourself into thinking that you'll feel better, if you don't go do it. Like, I'm going to sleep an extra hour, I'm going to veg out on TV. You're not going to feel better by doing that. It is an act of self-love to get up and stay with the discipline that you've created in your life. Like, it's an act of self-love. And, we all are constantly changing. And I spent a lot of years just on my couch. And one of the reasons, why I couldn't get up off that couch and out of that depression, out of that really bad spot, I certainly didn't love myself. I certainly didn't think that I was worthy of achieving any goals that I may have thought I wanted to achieve. So that's a big component of it too. Like, you have to realize you're worth it. Like, you're worth that time to carve out that 30 minutes, that 60 minutes, to go in the gym and work out, or whatever it may be, whatever, self-care, whatever you're pursuing. Love yourself enough to know you deserve that.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
because that is so important. That is such a good point you make, because you know how you'll get like a calendar book and they may have like already printed in bold, like a sample line in everyone's goal setting for their master list. Like you said, self-love should be permanently stamped,
yeah,
because
it should.
we do not, veterans, the suffering and the despondent and all the things that happen in your minds, self-love has got to come first and in there, and really for everyone, because you can't get anywhere if you're not
No, you
taking
can't.
care of yourself.
You
And you
can't.
just really deserve that. So that's a really, really good point. I know that struggled because I always confused self-love with being selfish,
Yeah.
you know, and my personality is like a more of a giver. So,
Yep.
but now I realize that, you know, you have to take care of yourself. I struggle with it all the time. But what you said is so important that we should all start with in our thing is self-love. How are we going to give self-love to ourselves? I
Right.
think that's really, really poignant that you bring that up. So if we break it into a couple of like fitness, nutrition, and personal goals, let's touch on each of those
Yep.
and you know, get into some of that like nitty gritty goal setting. So when you start with fitness, you said same thing. You want to figure out a specific fitness goal. Is that what you want to do, like to
Yep.
achieve, and then go backwards?
Yep. Because again, pretty much any goal you set, you know, and again, we don't have to worry about, you know, when we talked about at the beginning, that big picture goal, like let's say, um, and I mean, you can, if you've got one, Lynn, shoot it out. But you know, if your goal is to be in the gym 5 days a week, or if there's a specific lift that you're trying to hit with a number, there's going to be a way to always work backwards, and there's always sub goals under that. So let's say, for instance, you know, I want to bench press 200 pounds. Like that's my goal this year. Okay, well, that's great. We write it down. You know, we're gonna work backwards. We're gonna do the work, but there's going to be several other smaller goals that we're going to need to hone in on in order to achieve that 200-pound bench press. So speaking of the bench, you know, if it's the bench, where's my weak point in the lift? You know, is it my triceps? Is it my chest? What is it? I'm going to be honest about that. And then I'm going to target in for smaller goals. Okay. So I'm going to add in an additional day of tricep work every week. Maybe it's a mobility issue. Maybe you can't lock out, you know, your shoulders are bad. You know, I'm committing to 3 days a week of 30 minutes of, you know, mobility routines that are specifically targeted for this. So it doesn't matter, you know, what it is. You
So,
have,
so when you set that, you set the big goal, and now as you train, you work backwards, and then you're setting all these sub
yep.
goals, and you're just being brutally honest. And
Hmm.
then, and then once you figure that out, then you start at the lowest or the
Yep.
smallest,
Yep.
I should say, and then you're moving up. So
Right.
mobility, let's say, or tricep, you want, you know, more strength. You start there, and then you just keep moving as you go. And you're recording everything is big.
Yes. Yes. So sidebar onto there. And it again, I'm going to speak to it, nutrition and fitness, because that's the realm I'm most comfortable speaking in. But you can apply this again to any goals you have. So we write them down, but also how can we make this measurable? And we want to be able to see progress that we're making towards that big goal. Because, you know, if we look at ourselves, I look at myself Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I can't really see a lot of difference happening day to day, right? Everything kind of feels the same. That's where we need to get very specific. If this is a gym training specific goal, it is absolutely paramount that you are recording every single training session. I don't care if that's paper and pen and app. For myself, I have workout logbooks. I have, by now, I don't know, so many. I mean, I have them for the last 4 years. You can come and like, they're like archived, right? But I can see that progress over a long time. The
The
same.
Cal Fitness app, they can go
Yes.
in.
So now, yes, absolutely. So now, if you don't want to do it paper and pen, you want to do it on an app, get on an app. If you're a Catch a Lift veteran athlete, we have a terrific app that we use that you can log both fitness and nutrition. We use My PT Hub. You know, it's terrific, but it's so important that you are logging that, because again, day to day, it's very, very hard to see a difference sometimes. But now when we can look back, you know, months at a time or even weeks, you know, you're going to see that progress. Same thing on that nutrition. And, you know, whether it's a goal to gain weight, lose weight, maintain, whatever it is, goes back to, again, that recording. You need to log it, paper and pencil, or if you're techie and want to do it on an app, get on the app and do it. If you're a Catch Lift member, get on that My PT Hub app with us, track your nutrition, you know, be brutally honest with yourself. It's a way to hold yourself accountable. goals in general. It's hard to do without accountability.
Oh, absolutely. The writing down, and I was reading an article by a Yale professor, and it is tracking, writing,
Yeah.
journaling. It's huge, and it also makes you accountable. I mean, if you have to write something down that you didn't do, I mean, what kind of schmuck would you
Yeah.
be? to,
Yeah.
not like to write it right,
Yes.
you know. So I absolutely, they also say that is one of the biggest um, things that you can accomplish with nutrition is recording everything. And even if you do the nachos or you do a beer or you do whatever, you still put it in, and
Yes.
you just, because you're human and you're
Yes.
real, right?
100%.
And you see that. So let's say I'm set these great goals, and I've done all the things you said, and Sunday comes, I don't feel good, I'm tired, I didn't, do my reps. Monday, something happened. Wednesday, Tuesday, but now it's Thursday, and I'm like, oh my God, I missed 4 days. I suck. Can't keep a goal. I'm so mad at myself. All right, now what do I do?
Yeah.
How do I get back in
Okay.
besides talking
So
trash to myself?
this is where grace comes in, and you have to show yourself grace, because if we're sitting at Thursday now and you haven't worked out for the past week, well, for whatever reasons you weren't able to or chose not to, it's over and done with. Me sitting here and beating myself up for that past week of things that I did or didn't do, it's not going to do a dang bit of good. But what it does, we're sitting here today, be brutally honest with yourself, reread your goals, write them down again if you need to. But then show yourself that self-love and do the work, because
Okay.
the work is a form of self-love. So don't be, it happened. Okay. You didn't, even if it's been a month, you fell off for a whole dang month. Okay. Well, there's nothing we can do about that, but what we can do now, rewrite down that goal, show yourself self-love, get back to work, find that habit, build that discipline, and think of the person you're striving to become. What
Mm-hmm,
would that person
mm-hmm.
do? Okay. And it might sound kind of cliche, but if you're sitting there, it's Thursday morning, you haven't worked out for the past week, and you're like, is it worth it at this point? Or maybe it's been a few weeks, is it even worth it to try again? That's where you
Yeah,
need to really
yeah.
get back on that picture of who you are, who you truly are, who you want to become. What would that person do? Would they choose to spend another day, on the couch, in the bed, whatever it is, just disengaged from your family? Would that person choose that? Make
Right, right.
decisions that
And
that
then
person would do.
and then also, like you said, and this is going to take us to a question that Eugene has, one of our listeners. If you break the habit by, say, a bad week, you're more readily to get back into your habit if you've created that
Yes.
habit.
Yep.
So Eugene wants to know, with habits, do you still look at time when completing the goal, or try to eliminate that? Eugene tries to focus on results versus timelines. What are your thoughts on that?
So that's a really interesting one. And it's actually something I think about it a lot. Because over the past couple years, I have set a lot of goals that did not have a time frame on them, because quite honestly, I had no idea what it would take. I didn't have the people around me to look at realistically, or just for different reasons. I was not able to put a time frame on it. So short answer, it's very good to be results driven. And I think you can be sustainable that way. Like if you're seeing progress down that road, that's fine. Like for myself, that big picture, like my really big goal, that I won't tell anyone, but like my husband and my very close friends, I don't know how long that's going to take. I have kind of like a ballpark in my head what I think it's going to take, but there are some things you can't speed up, right? Just like physically, say it's like a physical type goal, like you can only develop at a certain rate. And again,
Right.
I might ask someone else how long it took them, but we're each individuals. We have different genetics, different makeups, mind, body, soul. So it will be different. I think it's a good practice, if you can, to have, like we said, a time frame or kind of a date with the goal. But if you're making progress, if you've created a habit, if you're disciplined, if you're working towards a goal, but there isn't a set timeline on it, I wouldn't worry about it as much. As I would be more concerned about it, or maybe you need to shift directions if you're not seeing progress. If you're spinning your wheels the exact same spot you were 6-12 months ago, and you really don't yet have that, then it might be time to, okay, we need to look at this again in a time frame. And maybe the goal, maybe that's not even the problem. Maybe the goal just has to be broken down more, and those sub goals you can hit. Because again, that really big goal that I have, honestly, no, I don't know how long it's going to take, but those sub goals, those smaller target goals I have, I can know a little bit better by now how long it's going to take, or at least ballpark. And again, you do have to readjust them because, life happens, injuries, sicknesses, death, like things happen. So it's okay to adjust that too, if you need to, again, show yourself that grace. And I've also, I was just going to say just real quick, I've also, like last year, I actually talked to you last January, Lynn, and one of my goals for 2020, this was pre-COVID, and we knew what COVID was going to bring. One of my goals that I had was I wanted to do more speaking and writing. And I didn't really have a clear path for how that was going to manifest, but it was a goal I was very serious about. COVID hit us in March, and I was like, well, these opportunities I thought would be out in front of me were no longer there. But out of that, the Coach's Corner was born, and I was able to find another outlet to speak, to write, to do those things. So
you had a goal, but it's
was somewhat directionless.
Exactly. Well, plus, like, if you had written exactly how this was going to manifest, this may not have happened, right? Because you don't always know how it's going to play out.
Right.
But you have the big picture, so when it plays out, you can like slip it in place.
Yes, exactly. And it's much easier to adapt and like find a different lane to still make it happen. Because no, this was not at all what I had envisioned when I said that I wanted to do more speaking and writing. But this is what came of it, right? And so I'm happy for that. I'm grateful for that. And so I would also, honestly, when we're talking about, goals and stuff like that, I'm not an expert. There's a million great books, audiobooks, YouTube videos you can go and watch, and, you'll hear from the best and brightest, write how to do it, boom, 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 do these steps. But it's life, and it's messy, and we're humans. So, I mean, as much much as like the SMART, the SMART, like as much sense as that makes to follow it, it doesn't always work out that way. So, I mean,
and some of that you have to, I know, I fall guilty of this, where I almost read too much, like I'm reading this, reading that. And, I sometimes say, is that an excuse for action, right? So there's a point where enough, and if not, get in it, be messy, and just, move forward.
Exactly, so, just do.
Exactly. Keep moving and doing it. So let me ask you this, because I know nutrition is so big for so many people. And I think we touched on, which I think is such a smart way to look at it, the big picture of what you want in nutrition. Let's just say I want to live a healthier life. I want to be able to move faster and quicker with my children or myself. And therefore, let's say I have to lose weight, because that is always the number one request we get, Catch Lift gets. But so now I've set these goals. I'm going to, I have a great plan. I'm moving. I'm starting to make food at home. I've eliminated some things that I know are not healthy in ingestion. Now I have to, my wife's mother invited us to their lake house, and we are driving up, and we're going to be gone for a week to Wisconsin, and I love cheese, and I'm going to stuff my face.
Oh, man,
All right. So how do I maintain this while
Yep.
traveling, while perhaps many people still work? How
Yep.
do you pack your lunch? The other thing to touch on, I'll just throw it in while you're doing this, is, which we hear very frequently, economically.
Yeah.
How do I make these good choices for good organic food or just healthy food, whole foods, and fit all this into that?
Yeah. I'll kind of start with like traveling and as stuff comes up in your life. So yeah, so let's say you had a goal this year to lose, let's say 30 pounds. You're doing a really good job. You're tracking your nutrition. You've cut out the soda, the candy, you've made these steps, like you're building a habit and a lifestyle. And right, you're going to go on vacation with your family. And yeah, if you come to Wisconsin, you're going to have a hard time with all the beers, brats, and cheese. But the first thing I would say is build in time to enjoy those things. Do it mindfully. So strategically pick, if you're going to be going, on a 5-day trip, pick 1 or 2 of those nights where you're going to enjoy yourself with your family and you're going to eat whatever. You don't necessarily need to record that, but you have built it in. It's not deciding it for you. So let's say, you and I, Lynn, we're on a trip. It's Friday night. I am mindfully making the decision that, I'm going to have a good time tonight. I'm going to eat cake and have a pop, whatever it may be. But you're making that decision. You're not getting there and being railroaded, like not knowing what to do. I think that if you take that control back, it's less likely to run away from you. Like, I am choosing tonight, Friday night. I'm not worried about my macros, calories, however it is you track. I'm not worried about it. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to get back up. I'm going to get on, with tracking, with eating healthy. Sunday morning, if I'm going to go out to breakfast with you, maybe again, I'm going to mindfully choose because I'm on this trip. I'm not going to count this meal. So I think when you take that control back, it helps. Don't just feel
Yeah.
like you have the control, but you choose that. Maybe you don't want to go off your diet during that, and that's okay too. I traveled for a couple of years where all I did was pack my own food. I wouldn't, right? I mean, so I'll say, because you were there, and I wouldn't eat any, but I was choosing that. And I would get a lot of shit from people, and they'd be like, "Oh, it's just one thing," but it was important for me. It was important.
Oh, totally.
But I made
Totally.
that choice. I didn't feel like I was missing out on something because I went in on it. This is what I choose to do for me. That's what made me happy at the time and fulfilled.
Yeah.
Right now where I'm at in my life, it might look different, and I wouldn't do that probably, but it's because I'm in a different lane trying to pursue something different.
And you're being able to make a choice is empowering.
Yes, it is. It's when you think that you don't have choice, or like the food has the power over you, or the situation.
The
You are
situation, I think, a
completely,
lot.
yeah, you are completely in charge of it. Make a decision beforehand how you want to, conduct yourself. And
Right.
it's okay if that's in a more stricter way. Like, that's okay too. And it's okay to not be that for that period of time. But the important thing, I think, is that you have made that decision. The
Right.
situation didn't dictate how you behaved or what you ate or drank. Uh,
Right. Right.
and the
And
other
I
thing,
think
yeah,
going into that with like backup plans are good. Like, especially, I know a lot of people eat out of either depression
yeah,
or, feeling anxiety, and they pick. And maybe if you give yourself like 3 options, and
right,
like, when I get like this, I can reach for either this, I can reach for this, or I can go do this. Like,
yeah,
you have choices to make
yes,
for when those triggers come up.
yeah,
I think it's important. And then, so bringing that into the personal goals, um, like for yourself, choosing personal goals looks so different for so many people, right? And I think honing in on that is sometimes hard because there's a lot of goals you can set, right? So how would you choose those things? I mean, there's so many. It could literally, to make the plan would be overwhelming.
yeah. And so I think this is where, again, you have to be very certain that you're creating these goals for, these personal goals. I'm just say it's you and your family. what is sustainable for you and your family, what makes sense, set yourself up to succeed. You know, if you're honest, you know, you kind of know your game by now, right? Like, be honest with yourself, be honest how your family is. You don't have to make it this big grand thing all at once. Just target small goals, little things that you can do to, you know, increase the quality of your personal life, your family's life. Get everybody on board for that. You know, goals like that, it's very hard to do on your own. You know, if you're swimming one way and the rest of your family's kind of swim in a different direction, that's kind of,
Yeah.
I think you're setting yourself up for failure, where I've seen a lot of people kind of fall off. So, you know, if you can be honest with yourself, if you can be honest with your spouse or partner, you know, that you share your life with, your children, if you can all kind of get on the same direction and work towards a common goal, you know, and even if each of you has kind of a little bit of a different goal, but you're swimming in the same direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's very helpful. And I would, you know, encourage people to do that, you know, especially I think that COVID has really given us a unique opportunity to look at goals and family time, because we're all so much, you know, we're at home. There's not really anywhere to go. So how can we make this time, you know,
Right. Right.
quality with one another? How can we live more, you know, in more harmony? But you know, that again, it's going to look very different for everybody. But I would approach it somewhat the same way. You know, you could still, what's that big picture? What do you want your family to look like? Work backwards. But again, go slow. Be brutally honest with yourself, with your partner, you know, about your
Yeah.
life. That's the biggest thing. Just be honest. Be
Honest.
honest.
Right. Right.
And that's
Yeah.
hard, but just be
Yes.
honest where you're at and where your family's at.
Yeah. I think that's such good advice, Melissa. Thank you so much. And I really mean that. I remember when I first met you, and you know, probably by year 2, when I would watch you set goals and like achieve them, or just work so hard to get to them, at least even complete them, right? I mean, it's inspiring. So I think that it's a good way to start the year, and
Yes.
you know, and get that in. I think what if for our viewers that are in the landing zone, um, Kevin Demons has come on, and he's doing amazing work getting the landing zone really full with new articles and videos. So definitely get in there. And live on the podcast, I am asking Kevin to maybe get a section in there for goal setting and what that looks like, because I think that could really help
Yeah.
some of our viewers and veterans. And you know, small articles that show just what you have talked about, like what it's like to get in there, and to have the SMART acronym up there as well.
Yeah.
But this was fun, and I am definitely rewriting my goals, and I'm definitely putting my big picture on. I do not have
Yeah.
a big picture of, like, you know,
Yeah.
and it's good. I was away a little bit, so you know, fresh start, and I'm excited. Thank you so much. This was so great.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to finish up here, Lynn, by I want to ask you, you know, what can we expect for out of Catch a Lift in 2021 as veterans, as a community? What do we have to really look forward to?
Oh, wow. We were really, really excited, and you know, we're really anxious to kick off 2021 as we move forward. What In the last 2 months, we put in close to 200 veterans from the wait list.
So wonderful.
I know you worked on that, David, Leuck, the equipment coordinator, Rachel, Kaylee, just you know, the whole team, and to put in close to 200. We're still knocking out that wait list like we promised, and we're moving through it really quickly, and we're thrilled with that. So what we're looking at that's very exciting is that the wellness program, which is the core to Catch a Lift, is going to be very strong, offered to any generation of a combat warrior. And so we're loving that even our Vietnam veterans
Gosh, it's
can
terrific.
come in. I
So
mean, that's my heart there, boy.
I know it
When
is.
I fell in love with the military then, and So that wellness program but let me tell you, you get in the wellness program now for 2021, and you got to be accountable, because it's a lot, and we put out a lot, we do a lot. And if you're not going to show up, there's 200, 300, 1,000 men and women behind you that want to show up.
Yeah.
So that goes out, though. Everybody that is eligible can be in that. And our website's going to tell you all about that. And then the grant cycle, where we give out the gym payments, the equipment that we pay for, that will go in 2 cycles a year now, so that there isn't this horrible wait list, right? If we have X amount of money for the grants, then X amount of spots will be open. And we're putting all that out there by the end of January for all of our people. So we're very, very excited for that. And the big thing is our Everyday Hero campaign that is launching as we speak. We are bringing together civilians with our everyday veteran heroes, our civilian heroes, the man or woman that's home taking care of an ill parent, homeschooling, helping at Little League virtual games, or whatever they're doing, that go unnoticed, under the radar. Our veterans that get up every day, work through physical and mental injuries, and they're there showing up, holding the line.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
They're our everyday heroes. And every month will be celebrated with a focus on that month. We have Women's Month coming up. We have PTS Month, Purple Heart Month, Emotional Wellness Suicide Month, for awareness. So each month we'll have veteran hosts that are pushing those out and bringing our civilian community, our corporate communities together, and then, of course, most importantly, our veteran members. So it's going to be a hell of a year.
Ooh, man, I'm so excited. There's so much great stuff there. It's hard to just like hone in on one thing. I mean, I'm so excited about that wellness program being open up to all generations of combat veterans. I mean, it's just absolutely terrific. So excited for the Everyday Heroes campaign. And like you said, just to be able to highlight people that every day are holding that line and pushing forward and grabbing ground where they can. It's just tremendous. Oh, it's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good year.
It is. God bless. It is.
Yes, yes. Well, I think that's a good place for us to wrap it up today, Lynn. Thank you so much for, coming on today, sharing your time with us and your light as always. We are so very grateful for you and happy to see you.
Thank you.
We will return next Wednesday with another new episode at 1 Eastern Time. Thank you to ClearBridge for all your support of the Catch a Lift Fund. We're so grateful for you. Thank you to Lynn Coffland, Henry Pomper, Kaylee Nasiri for your work to make this podcast possible, and to the entire Catch a Lift team. We thank you. If there are any veteran members listening that would like to jump on for a few minutes with Lynn and I, please leave your name in the comment box and we'll get you guys a link. We'd love to talk with you today. Until next time, keep it real and stay Cal strong.